All right, hi everyone. My name is Emily and I'm an alcoholic. Welcome to the Design for a Living Big Book Study. And with me is,
Elizabeth, alcoholic.
okay, we will be starting on the bottom of page 63 and how it works. We're going to begin step 4. You want to read?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I think we found it as very desirable. Did we do that one yet?
Yes, we
Okay.
stopped at next we
Oh,
launched.
thank you so much.
Hmm.
Bottom page 63. Next, we launched out on a course of vigorous action, the first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted. Though our decision was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. So we had just finished talking about the step 3 decision and the importance of, or also what can happen when I do make that decision. That, I always talk about my favorite part of the book is the top of page 63, where it says he provided what we needed as long as we stayed close to him and performed his work well. And I've just gone through the first step, hopefully thoroughly and slowly, like my sponsor took me, because I'm hard-headed and I don't want to see it. And I realize why I need to make this decision. And I like how it points out what we're here to do. I'm not here to navel gaze. I'm not here to examine. I'm not here to analyze like forever. I'm here to find out how to get unblocked. That's it. I need to be unblocked from that spiritual experience. So I need to find out what's in me that's blocking me from that spiritual experience. I've been blocked all day. Had something happened today that my brain really, really wants to think about, and it's taken a lot of effort, a lot of prayer today to stop thinking about that. And it's still not working very well, but we're here. I'm here. Meeting my commitment here. And it says it once, and it's people get stuck here. I try to encourage people to move forward, make your the best way to get finished with your fourth step is to schedule your fifth step. But I need this permanent effect, and I love words like that in here. I want to have that permanent effect, and later on we'll talk about step 10 and how we continue to watch for what we're going to learn in step 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. The causes and conditions. I have a friend who says if you want to find out why you drank, stop drinking. Something led me to pick it up for me. Okay. It's how I felt once I started drinking. It released me from everything I felt before that. And I've met all kinds of alcoholics. I've met the kinds with severe trauma, and I've met the kinds that have absolutely no other problem in their life except for what happens when they drink alcohol. I've met that kind. And I even was like, is she an alcoholic? You know, she gets along with people. She never fights with her husband. She's getting along with everyone at work. Like she doesn't seem to have any of the isms, right? But I know that for me, I can look back at my history and see where I started and immediately want that effect over and over and over. Now that I don't want to pick up alcohol again, I want to see what's going on with me and my reaction to life that makes me want to go get relief so that I don't do it again. So that's part of it, because that blocks me from my higher power and what my higher power wants for me to do today, which is to be present right here with you guys, present for Emily and Stephanie and our new guest Mark, who I've known for a very long time, and everybody else that's in the room. But my brain wants to go run around and try to fix, manage, and control this situation that's not going the way I want it to over here or somewhere else in my life. And I don't get to be with God when I'm doing that. Go ahead, Emily.
I really don't have too much more to add, but I do like um, our liquor was but a symptom. We choose to you know, think that alcohol is, like the main causing condition, but really, it's but a symptom in our life. We just we have that option to do it or don't do it. And obviously we had made that option. or decision to do it, but that is definitely something that we can live without for sure. Um, and then yeah, we had to get down to causes and conditions, like why we did it and like what were the conditions of like why we drank. Some people just like to drink just because, they're mad or, sad or whatever, but like and then there's some people that, drink because of trauma and other things. So that's kind of what I think about that when I read that sentence for sure. But I'll read the next paragraph. Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact finding and a fact facing process. It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock and trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unsellable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the honor of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup which caused our failure. Being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us, we considered its common manifestations. Yeah, so the ultimate goal of a fourth step is to clean up, our resentments and other things that have been blocking us from God. So, like, we'll obviously talk about the fear and the sex conduct as well, but the resentments, it is a number one offender. So, when we get, really angry, we like to take it out on other people and not look at our side. And, ultimately, looking at our side is very important because we are the problem. It's not the other people or institutions or principles or any of that. But we had to discover the truth, about everything because we had been lying to ourselves or making excuses as to why we were drinking or drugging or blaming other people for our mistakes. So that is the most important step, I think, because we had to get honest with ourselves and telling everyone, or our sponsor at least, our deep darkest secrets, like why we did these things or what we did to someone. So yeah, we had to be honest and thorough, because otherwise we will go back out, and if we do that, then we have a better chance of staying sober, day by day. um so that's all I have for that.
Thanks, Emily. And I was noticing where it says a fact-finding and fact-facing process. And when I work with people, the first thing they like to do is tell me how they feel and what they think about the things that are going on in their life. And I'll say, okay, wait a minute. And we're going to see that in the cause on the next page. We want to talk about facts and actions. What's going on? What exactly happened? Right? Mark didn't smile at me today. Mark doesn't like me. I know he doesn't. Because he didn't smile at me. Right? And so I really need to look at the facts. What are the facts? Because I can make up story. I got all kinds of stories. Also, it says that um, and these are the flaws in my makeup. It's the way that I think and react to life. Um, we get rid of them promptly and without regret. We don't work on them. No, we get rid of them promptly. We want to get, alcoholics have to hit bottom with everything, or I don't care what your solution is. Don't care. If I think it still works, I'm going to do it. And I'm 37 years sober and I'm still doing stuff that I think works. And I'm hitting some bottoms in my life right now with some things. And it's painful. It is painful to just like it says 25. I always go back to that, right? Almost none of us like the self-searching. Ugh. And I still don't like it, but I want to live. I don't want to die from this disease. And that's the bottom line. Do I believe this thing works? Do I think that I need to do this? I mean, it told us a few pages ago that it's, half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. This is an all or nothing proposition. And for me to look at my part, I'm in a relationship right now where I want to blame him all the time. I never want to look at my part. You kidding me? It's got to be more his fault. But that will keep me the same person, trying to do the same things, trying to manage my life, living in the second half of step one. And I know I've mentioned it in here many times. I don't want you can do the steps backwards, and I don't want to end up at the first half of step one. So I have to look at this stuff. And the good news is, usually what happens if I look at a pattern or a defect or some way that I'm reacting to life and realize that it's causing me failure, and I stop doing it, and I make a better choice, I have a better result. And then I want to keep making those better choices, right? That's what's happened for me. I mean, it's taken a lot for me to ever get humbled and actually do anything else. But then I find, oh, wow, this is so much better. I mean, that's happened for me over and over again. Even just the stop in the hamster wheel thinking about everything going on. It's like I can have peace. I have to work at it. I have to work at turning to my higher power and saying, okay, right here, right now, what are we doing? It's noon on Monday. Oh, I got to go be with Emily, for the next hour and do this thing. So, and it's hard to look at, the flaws in our makeup. Um, I created this character in childhood. I'm the oldest, I'm the smartest, my mom told me I was overbearing. I didn't know I had ADD until age 42. I took up the space. There was a wall around me, like of this character, but it kept me blocked from anything new. So, yeah, okay, I'll read the next one.
Mhm.
Resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease. For we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. In most cases, we found that it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore. We were burned up. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, or our ambitions, our personal or sex relations, which had been interfered with? Um, when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. And that sentence, of course, I didn't know what in the heck it meant when I first read it. But over time, I have realized that because I went through the hugest self-help phase of, just like everybody else who got sober around the same time. I think Mark knows that one, right? The late 80s and the 90s. So everybody's going to the bookstore and buying more self-help books and trying to figure out how we're going to fix ourselves. And it only creates a person that's way more self-centered, and with better language to tell you how to act. But now I understand that when I turn to God and I ask for help, because I don't want to be nice to the mean person. I don't want to. I want her to be nice to me before I'm nice to her. I don't want to be nice to her, right? But when I pray and I ask God for help, please help me have compassion, help me have empathy, help me think about what that person is going through and that they're doing their best. My heart changes. And when my heart changes, I don't have resentment anymore. It's crazy. I can look at that person and wish them well, even if they've really hurt me. And I want them to be okay. And I feel that harmony instead of the confusion or resentment or doubt or fear. And so the spiritual malady for me now is when I'm not with my higher power, thinking about, I love in the 10th step, it says we have entered the world of the spirit. That's a beautiful place to be because when I'm there, it doesn't matter what you do to Elizabeth, the human. And I need that sometimes. Because, yeah, go ahead, Emily.
Um, yeah, I definitely think it's important to realize that it says mentally and physically or spiritually ill. It's a three component thing. It's just not one. I think it's important to see that because that's what my sponsor pointed out to me. Because resentment can make you feel, mentally, spiritually, and physically ill. Because it can, cause the root problem, to stem, from everything that bothers us. And I think it's important to that, we write it out on paper because if we just type it out, then there really isn't much of a feeling of it, feeling very important, because if we write it out, then we realize that it's more, in front of us and personal. Um, so yeah, and the columns just make so much more sense because it's just not like what they did to us, but it does affect personal relationships, our money, our self-esteem, ambitions, all that. And I do like that it says that we were hurt or threatened. Obviously, they have their part and we have our part, but our part is the most important to look at because they're if they're normal people, they're not going to drink and drug just like we do. They don't really hold grudges as badly as we do. I mean, I know they hold some type of grudge, but not like as bad as we do. They don't drink or drug um excessively like we do, and we can't stop. But I definitely do think that it's important to stress that to sponsees as well as, be just honest and thorough as possible because, if we don't do this, honest and thorough, then we will go back out and we got to get down to that, nitty gritty, whether we want to look at it or not, because it is very important. That's all I have for that. Um,
I wanted to point out, I put
Go
something
ahead.
in the chat since we're not affiliated with any specific place. The Big Book Awakening workbook has an awesome four-step guide, and I found it to be so useful. It has what's called the expanded third column. So after writing about the causes, um, what the other person did, which I sometimes call column two ranting, which is just awesome. My little ego loves to just go for it, and there's usually like a whole page. I've gotten better, but it used to be there was really a whole page I didn't even bother to read my sponsor because she didn't need to hear all that. Um, but like it helps me get the energy out just to get to do that. But the here in the Alcoholics Anonymous book, it just has one word, and then it talks about fear next to it. When it talks about self-esteem, security, ambition, personal and sex relations, and pocketbook, there's something about like each one of those, what that means. And one of the things I really, really love is because I'm a God player and I will hide how I'm playing God in a million different forms. I'm so self-justified, right? So the way that it explains it in there really helps me. And each of the third column items has an explanation next to it in those resources. And the pride is about the rule book I gave you that you didn't read, and the self-esteem is about how I'm playing God, because that's usually what's happening for me. Um, that's where you're not living up to my values, and I love the personal and sex relations are my ideas about how men are supposed to act, how AA members are supposed to act, how authority in government is supposed to act, how we're supposed to have income equality better. Like I have these ideas about how the world is supposed to work and the people in it are supposed to act that are general, that I apply to everyone. And it's really great to look at all that stuff. Some of that stuff originally came out of Denver AA, which a lot of people really have learned a lot from. And it's some people call it a belief inventory, but I am running around in the world with a reaction because I'm operating on this set of my own principles about how everybody needs to act, and people aren't doing it. So I'm mad. And, if only they would. I mean, it's back to page 61, right? If only people would do as we wished, everything would be great. You all would be happy. Everybody would be happy. So, yeah, so this structured format really helps me because I can journal till the end of time, right? And get nowhere. And I was when I first met my big book sponsor when I was 14 years sober. But here on page 65, it says, I'm resentful at Mr. Brown, the cause, his attention to my wife, told my wife of my mistress, Brown make it my job at the office. Affects my sex relations, self-esteem, parentheses, fear, self, yeah, it goes into that whole thing. And then next one, Mrs. Jones, she's a nut. She snubbed me. She committed her husband for drinking. He's my friend. She's a gossip for personal relationships. So I don't know if you all can read the rest of them, but in each case, I write down what the other person did specifically, the actions that they took, and then look at the effect. And there's some funny memes out there about step four. You know, it's like, um, for me, I need to stop talking about the other person after column two. I need to see what's going on with me. I can talk about their effect on me, but like, you know, especially column four, which they get into here in a minute. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, I was just gonna screen share this because this is something that is very good as well. Let me give me 1 second. So this is another chart that I've seen as well around, so you are resentful at, you put mom, dad, whatever, the cause, like why, and then it breaks down the effects by. So self-esteem, pocketbook, ambition, security, personal relations, sex relations, pride, fear. And then here it shows what was the exact natures of my wrongs, what were my mistakes, where was I to blame, what were my faults, and then you put them here under the my mistakes and faults. So this is looking at your part. So let's just say you put your mom and then she cussed you out, but then you got in an argument and you cussed her out. So you put that under there. And then I don't know, maybe you gave her attitude, you didn't return her phone call, all that. So you would list everything that you put in the my mistakes and the faults column. I just think that this breaks it down even more. But all of the worksheets I've seen have been very helpful. But I just love how this kind of, breaks it down so it gives you more of a picture and a visual because I'm a visual learner as well. So the page on 65, it only gives you the three columns, but this one most people go into more advanced and you look at your part. So I just think that was very helpful as well. I just wanted to put that in there. And I also put it in the chat. So if anyone's interested in looking at that even further, there's also one if you scroll down, it has fears and sex conduct as well. So, but yeah, I really think that that helps as well. It goes a step further from, the big book. So I'll just read the next paragraph. All right, we're at the bottom of 65. We went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. When we finally finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. To conclude that others were wrong as far as much as most of us ever got, the usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. The more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph or short lived. So yeah, that just kind of reiterated what I just said. You know, we do know that people are wrong, and if they're not in the program and they're one of us, then they don't have a solution in a program. So yeah, they're gonna continue to do harms to us or hurt, and ultimately the resentment is just focusing it in on ourselves, and we're just trying to clean up our side of the street. So it doesn't matter what they do or say to us, it's all about us. It's not belittling like what they did. Yes, they hurt us, but like we also have a part in this as well, and it's just important that we focus in on ourselves because we keep ourselves sick and we need to have a solution today, and to be able to pass it on to others, and show people that it's possible to have issues in our lives, but we have God to help us through that. So, and I think it's just important to continue to do inventory, because things always crop up every day, for me especially, when I'm dealing with work, or my parents, or you know another person in the program or whatever. It just helps me to see where I was selfish, self-centered, not caring. I may say hurtful things when I don't realize it, and then I don't stop and pause, so I just think that that was perfect paragraph there to reiterate why we keep doing this. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah, this is super interesting for me, because I'm in a situation where I'm reaching again the realization that I fought for my own way in a situation, and the moments of triumph were short-lived. And now I'm seeing it again, and I like here too, where it says that people continue to wrong us. Sometimes it was remorse we restore ourselves, because sometimes when I start to write a resentment inventory, I have to look at, like, who am I really mad at? Because if you're a God player, right? Here's a test. All right. If somebody betrays you, who are you more mad at? Are you more mad at them, or are you mad at yourself for not realizing they were untrustworthy? Right? Because I'm more mad at myself, because I think I'm supposed to be all knowing, all powerful, all seeing, and prevent myself from getting hurt. Right? So sometimes when I start to write, the symptom is them, but really I'm mad at myself because I didn't play God effectively enough in the situation, because I'm fighting to be self-reliant at all times, right? And that's the essence of my program over here, is that I always loved that Jim had that vague sense he wasn't being any too smart, right? And I get those moments. It's like Elizabeth. And yet I'm plowing forward, doing my way, whatever it is, and running into trouble. And then, of course, I want to blame that trouble on everybody else and everything else, and not see that it was really me the whole time. And this book tells me over and over and over. It's like, bam, hey, we've only, my sponsor had me go through the book once, like an English teacher, and I was like, this is so repetitive, doesn't flow. There's just, but yeah, like we need that. We need that to over and over. I do. I need it. I need it. All right, let's do the next one. And futile. We'll see. We got serving no useful purpose. Oh, that's next. That's in the next paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Remorse, I've written in the corner of my stuff. A gnawing distress arising from a sense of guilt for past wrongs, self-reproach, and resentment, a feeling of indignant displeasure or persistent ill will at something regarded as a wrong, insult, or injury. And indignation is anger aroused by something unjust, unworthy, or mean. All right, it is plain, page 66 in the middle, it is plain that a light, which includes deep resentment, leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns and we drink again. And with us, to drink is to die. I really need to read that. Thank you. Futility, futile, serving no useful purpose, completely ineffective, occupied with trifles.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about this, this business, I mean, those are not light words there. It says infinitely grave and fatal. Mark and I know a man that could not get over the death of his brother. And he kept going back out and he kept going back out. And he eventually hung himself from a bridge in a park near where we live. And I watched this, I watched this man just, that's all he ever talked about was that resentment that he had, that his brother had died. And And we see so much of that, right? Because that's what it is. And living a self-centered life is painful. Walking around thinking about how you're not serving me, you're not doing what I want. It's painful. You know, at some point I'm going to need relief. And and I like how it says the maintenance and growth. My sponsor does not say that we maintain anything. You know, and later on it says we can't rest on our laurels, right? Because and I love the analogy of walking up a down escalator, right? You got to keep walking. And sometimes the escalator moves really, really slow. It's great. You know, we're just rolling along, everything's fine. But sometimes it speeds up. Am I walking or not? You know, how far to the top am I? Where am I on that escalator? You know, it's about growing. And for me, you know, I've said this before, we're going to get to 6 and 7 soon, and that's I like the one paragraph version of that because for me, this is about going out and living life and trying to apply these principles. And then I find out what my defects are, and they get more and more painful, you know, and then I don't want them anymore. And I keep having to go to God because I can't, you know, work on. I go out and live. They will be revealed. I will feel it, you know. That's how God disciplines us is through pain, you know. Um, and I like the word spiritual experience. It has been experiential for me. You know, I have the higher power that I describe and have heard described as addition by subtraction. When I get out of the way, when I stop that mental gymnastics of how I'm going to run the world, and I turn and I say, here I am, you know, open hands, open mind, open heart. What do you have? What do you want me to do today? I have an experience that's different than Elizabeth as God being the power in her own life. Um, yeah, that's it for me.
Um, yeah, I just like to stress that, it's not a step that, we can afford to skip because, it is definitely fatal. And if we skip this, then, unfortunately a lot of us, kill ourselves, go back out, we're just very miserable, and we don't know how to live with ourselves. And unfortunately I've seen that happen a lot. And then they leave before the miracle happens, before the promises happen. And I just have seen people that were like very, very miserable, even though they were sober, like dry drunk. And I strive to not live like that. I try to live my program the best I can every single day. And yeah, I think that's all I have for that. I'll read the next paragraph. We turned back to the list for held the key to the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, had power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered, but how? We could not wish them away any more than alcohol. This was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick, though we did not like their symptoms and the way they disturbed us. They, like ourselves, were sick too. We asked God to show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, this is a sick person. How can I be helpful to him? God save me from being angry. Thy will be done. Yeah, on top of page 67, that is the sick man's prayer. We pray it for how many days? I think it's like 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that straight. And then, we just um, ask that we be helpful, to them, and we wish everything um that we want for ourselves, for them, even though we don't want to. We do it until we want it for them. And yeah, people are gonna wrong us, and it's kind of how I look at it with like family or friends or all that. If they're untreated, then they don't have a solution, and we just have to give them the tolerance patience that, we would give a newcomer or, a spouse, a best friend, whatever. But, God can only, help us, and show us the path. Because it says here, we ask God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. So yeah, it's kind of like you want to like help someone with like cancer, like if they're in the hospital and we want to try to help them the best we can, we want to feel that compassion, and be very helpful to those people, and not, have pity and, be angry at them and all that. But that's kind of what I got from that. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, I love how it points out fancied or real because I make stuff up, like I said about Mark not smiling at me. He must not like me, Um, and dominated us. And that goes back to the playing God thing, if people would just do what I wish, me as God, and that, you know, sometimes I get a lot of relief just from seeing, oh, I'm playing God again, not trusting God with running the show. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I really struggle with it. I'm struggling with something now that's going on in my life that I have no power over. That I don't want it to be going the way that it's going. How could we escape? We couldn't wish them away. And my only chance for this is to change my attitude towards people and realize they're doing the best they can. And one thing that sorry guys, I don't want this on the recording. I'm gonna have to go. Sorry.
Okay, you're good.
Love you guys.
Um, okay,
Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and leave early today. I need to go deal with something at my house.
all right, you're good.
Thanks.
Uh-huh. I'm gonna read one more paragraph and then I'll open it up for sharing. We're on the page 67 in the middle paragraph. We were told, we avoid retaliation argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. Referring to our list again, putting out our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened through a situation had not been entirely our fault? We try to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly, and we were willing to set these matters straight. So yeah, this is where we get our last column here when it says referring to our list again, and then it says where have we been honest or sorry, dishonest, selfish, self-seeking, and frightened. So that definitely that breaks it down, even more. So we that is where we look at our part. Where had I been, selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened towards, like my parents or a coworker. Whatever your resentment is, that is your fourth column, and you just write it all out, and just be as honest and thorough as possible. Um, because if we leave something out, then either it will, hurt us in the long run, or we keep living into like denial, and we just keep getting more resentful, and our goal is to be as helpful, to other people, and show people that this works. And if we go out, or we spoil the chance of helping another newcomer, or someone close to us, like a family member or a friend, or anyone in like detox or something. So um Yeah, so I'm gonna stop the recording and then we're gonna open it up for shares. Thank you so much.